A single look. That's all it took. One glance, one word left unsaid, and now the streets of Chicago feel colder than ever. In episode 5, the Chi doesn't just give us drama, it gives us truth. Real emotions, tough choices, and the kind of pain that doesn't need to be explained. The past is catching up, the present is full of pressure, and everyone's trying to survive with hearts already half broken. If you think this is just another episode, you're not watching close enough. Let's break down what really went down. Before episode 5 kicks off, we need to remember where things left off, because this week doesn't waste a second. The weight of episode 4 is still pressing down hard. Emmett, who's always trying to play peacemaker, is now stuck in the middle of something he can't fix. He wants to do right by Kiesha, by his kids, by his own conscience, but the pressure's closing in from all sides. It's like he's trying to plug leaks in a sinking ship with bare hands. Last time, we saw Emmett stepping deeper into dangerous territory, working with people he doesn't fully trust, especially Duda. That deal? It wasn't business. It was a trap dressed like opportunity. Duda's promises always come with chains, and Emmett's starting to feel the cold metal tighten. Kiesha, on the other hand, is trying to hold her own. She's focused, calm on the outside, but inside, she's tired. Tired of being the one who always sacrifices. She loves Emmett, but she can see how fast he's slipping. It's hard to build a future when your partner's stuck in the past. The way she looked at him in episode 4, it wasn't anger, it was fear. Fear that she'll lose him not to death, but to a version of himself that she can't save. And then there's Kevin, still struggling with life outside of the chai. He may be chasing his dreams, but home keeps calling. You can feel it in the way he texts, the way he pauses when his friends talk about family. The further he goes, the more he wonders if he belongs somewhere else, or if he ever did. Papa and Jake? Their friendship is still strong, but it's changing. They're growing in different directions, and even though they're loyal, life keeps testing that bond. All of that emotion, all of that pressure, is sitting in the air when episode 5 begins. The opening scene doesn't start with a bang. It starts with silence. A slow pan across Emmett's apartment. The dishes are undone, toys on the floor, that everyday mess we all know. But this time, it feels heavy. Emmett is staring at the wall, lost in thought. The TV's on, but he's not watching. His phone buzzes. He reads the message. No music, no voiceover, just his eyes. And in that one look, you know something bad is coming. Kiesha walks in, asks him what's wrong. He says, nothing. But she knows. We know. It's never just nothing in the chai. She leans in close, touches his hand, and says, I need you here. Not physically, emotionally. And Emmett looks down like he already knows he's about to let her down again. The streets of Chicago aren't loud yet, but you can feel the storm building. Cut to Douda, sitting in a dark room, playing chess with himself. That's all you need to understand him. Every move he makes is calculated. Every person he talks to is just another piece on the board. He's calm, but that's what makes him dangerous. When a man smiles while planning war, you know people are about to get hurt. And the way he talks about Emmett? Like he owns him. Like loyalty isn't a choice. It's a leash. Then the focus shifts. The show gives us short scenes, Papa talking to Pastor Ezekiel, trying to find peace again. Jake walking through the old neighborhood, seeing faces he doesn't recognize anymore. Life keeps moving, even when you're not ready. The people are changing, and so is the game. And this is what makes the chai so powerful. It doesn't need explosions to shake you. It uses truth. The truth of what it feels like to love someone who's slipping away. The truth of how it feels to want more but feel trapped in less. The truth of how fast things fall apart. Not all at once, but slowly, one broken promise at a time. By the end of the first act, the lines are clear. Emmett is in too deep. Kiesha is scared. Duda is watching. And we, the audience, are holding our breath. Because we know this isn't going to end clean. Somebody's going to lose something this episode. Maybe even themselves. They didn't plan for it. Nobody did. But when the streets move, you either run, fight, or fall. And in episode 5, we see all three. It starts with a deal gone sideways. 1 minute, Emmett's trying to keep things cool. The next, he's in the middle of something that looks a lot like a setup. A meeting that was supposed to be about business turns into something colder. There's a car parked just a little too long across the street. A man steps out, doesn't say a word. Eyes locked. Another one follows. And suddenly, Emmett realizes this isn't a conversation. It's a message. He's not alone, but he feels like he is. The people around him? Not friends, not enemies, just watchers. People playing their own games while he's trying to survive his. The tension in this scene is brutal, not because guns are drawn, but because they might be. You're watching every hand, every eye twitch, every slow breath. That kind of quiet is louder than any bullet. Then we get movement. Jake and Bakari, two young men who know too much, have seen too much, and are still trying to figure out what right even looks like, get caught in the middle of street. Tension that's been bubbling all season. They're rolling down the block when they spot a kid they used to run with, now standing with people who don't smile anymore. Jake tells Bakari to keep driving, but Bakari doesn't like running. That moment of pride, that split-second pause, it's all it takes. A scuffle breaks out fast, not clean, not choreographed, real, dirty, fists, pushes. Someone pulls a piece, and for a heartbeat, everything stops. You can feel the weight in the air. If someone breathes too loud, this becomes something else. Luckily, an old head from the neighborhood steps in. No shouting, just presence, respect. And for now, violence pulls back like a tide, but we all know tides always return. Meanwhile, Dude is not just watching from the sidelines anymore. He's sending people, whispering in ears, threatening without threats. A simple look from him can get someone hurt. He makes one call. We don't hear what he says. We just see the reaction of the man on the other end. He nods, hangs up, then walks into a corner store like he's just shopping. But we know something bad is about to happen, and it has Emmett's name on it. There's another action scene that plays out differently. It's Kiesha's. But hers isn't with fists or guns. It's with fire in her voice. When she confronts Emmett later about the deal he made with Duda, it feels like war. She's not yelling, but her voice cuts deeper than any blade. How many times do I have to choose us while you keep choosing him? She says. That hits harder than anything we saw earlier. Because in the chai, sometimes the emotional battles leave the deepest bruises. And then comes the closing moment of the action arc. A drive-by. Not full chaos, just a warning shot. A car rolls slow near Smokey's BBQ. A few kids duck. One window rolls down. No words. Just a loud pop and a crack in the glass. No one's hurt, but it's not about pain. It's about fear. Message received. These moments aren't just for show. They mean something. Every punch thrown, every gun shown, every word left unsaid is pushing people toward choices they can't undo. Emmett knows now that he's in deeper than ever. Jake realizes he can't outrun the life he's trying to leave. And Kiesha, she's ready to walk away if it means saving herself and her son. This episode uses action like a heartbeat, not non-stop, but constant enough to keep your chest tight. Because in the chai, action isn't about explosions, it's about survival. And in episode 5, survival doesn't come easy. You ever see someone smile like everything's fine, but their eyes are screaming? That's what the chai does best. Episode 5 isn't just about bullets and deals, it's about breaking points. And this episode, everyone is dangerously close to theirs. Let's start with Emmett. He's trying, really trying, to hold everything together. Family, business, respect, love. But you can only stretch a man so thin before something snaps. There's a scene where he's sitting alone after that tense meeting. No words, just the weight of all his choices sitting on his shoulders. He looks at his phone, scrolls through old photos of Kiesha and the kids, and you can see it. regret. Not just for what he did, but for what it's doing to them. He wants to protect them. That's the thing. Emmett doesn't want to be a villain, but in the Chi, sometimes trying to protect your people puts them in more danger. And deep down, he knows it. That quiet guilt is louder than any gunshot. Then, there's Kiesha. She's done being the emotional backbone for everyone. This episode, we see her draw a line. She watches Emmett lie, not with words, but with silence. And when she calls him out, her voice doesn't crack. It's solid, but her hands shake. She says, "You keep making choices like I'm always going to be here. What if one day I'm not?" That's not a threat. That's exhaustion. Kiesha isn't just fighting for love. She's fighting to keep herself. Because when you're always the one bending, always the one fixing, one day you look up and don't recognize who you've become. That's where she's at, torn between love and survival. But she's not the only one unraveling. Let's talk about Papa. He's supposed to be the voice of reason, the one who stays grounded. But grief doesn't follow rules. Since losing his father, Papa's been trying to fill that hole with faith. Friendship, anything. In episode 5, we see him finally break. There's a scene in the church, just him, alone. No choir, no sermon, just silence. He sits in the front pew, looks up at the ceiling and whispers, "I don't know what I'm doing anymore." That moment, it hits. Because for the first time, the kid who always had the right words has none. Jake is drifting too. He's angry, but it's not loud. It's cold. The streets are calling again, and he's scared to admit part of him misses that life. It was simple. Dangerous? Yeah. But simple. This new life, this grown-up version of himself, it's messy, full of decisions that don't come with a win. And when he sees Emmett breaking under pressure, and Bakari turning colder by the day, Jake starts wondering if maybe the street was the only thing that ever made sense. But here's the real heart of this episode. It's not the big moments. It's the small ones. A single tear from Kiesha when Emmett turns his back. Papa holding his father's Bible like it's the last thing keeping him from drowning. Jake lighting a cigarette, then throwing it away before even taking a puff. Emmett, staring in the mirror, whispering, "You're still a good man." But the look in his eyes says he's not sure anymore. These characters are tired, not from running, from feeling. And in episode 5, the Chai reminds us, the most dangerous thing isn't the enemy outside, it's the war happening inside. That's the kind of emotion you don't fake. That's what makes this episode unforgettable. Love isn't always loud. Sometimes it dies in silence. No slammed doors, no shouting matches. Just two people standing in the same room, hearts miles apart. And in episode 5 of The Chai, we witness something scarier than a breakup. We watch love fade. Let's start with Emmett and Kiesha. For seasons now, we've seen their story bend, bruise, but never fully break. But this episode, something changes. It's not dramatic, it's quiet, which makes it worse. There's a moment late in the episode where Emmett walks in after the drive-by scare. Kiesha is holding their son close, rocking him slowly in the living room. The TV's still on from earlier, but muted. She doesn't even look up when Emmett enters. He speaks her name, soft, like he's afraid of the answer. She blinks slow, then says, "You okay?" The tone? It's not love. It's habit. And that's the heartbreak. You realize they're slipping. Still in the same space, but not in sync. Kiesha's face is calm, but her eyes, distant. She loves him. That's not the problem. The problem is she doesn't trust the version of him standing there anymore. Not with her heart, not with their future. Emmett tries. He really does. Later that night, he brings up a memory. Something sweet. A first date story. You can tell he's reaching for a feeling, trying to pull them back to when it all felt easy. Kiesha smiles. But it's a memory smile. It's not for now. She tells him, "We were just kids. Things were different then." That line, it's quiet, but it slams the door on what he's trying to rebuild. Meanwhile, we catch glimpses of another couple, Bakari and Lynae. Now this is love still, in motion, still figuring itself out. They're young, fiery, and messy. But unlike Emmett and Kiesha, they're honest, brutally so. There's a scene where Lynae calls out Bakari for chasing street clout, telling him, "You act like the world owes you something just because it hurt you." He snaps back, but then he listens. And that's what makes their connection different. They hurt each other sometimes, but they grow from it. You can feel their bond being tested, but you can also feel it building. He brings her a book she mentioned once, doesn't say much, just hands it to her with a quiet nod. That scene, no kiss, no hug, just a small gesture that screams, "I heard you." That's love, too. Then we look at Kevin, even from a distance. Out in LA, chasing a dream that's slowly turning into pressure. He FaceTimes Misha, and it's sweet, for a moment, but you can feel the delay, not from the signal, from the space between them. They're both smiling, but it's strained. She tells him she's proud. He tells her he misses home. Neither of them says what they're really thinking. Are we still us? The episode doesn't wrap anything in a bow. It's not about answers. It's about moments. People choosing whether to fight for each other or finally let go. And maybe the most powerful relationship shift isn't romantic at all. It's Papa and his grief. Because when you lose someone who loved you unconditionally, every other relationship feels different. Lighter, more fragile. In one brief, beautiful moment, he hugs Misha. Long, without words. Just need. And she holds him like she understands. That's what the chai gives us. Not fairy tale romance, but real love, tired love, scared love, growing love, fading love. Because sometimes the most powerful thing two people can do is stay. And sometimes the bravest thing they can do is leave. By the end of episode 5, it's not bullets or betrayals that leave the biggest scar. It's silence. The kind that follows an argument with no winner. The kind that lingers after trust walks out the door. And as the credits roll, one thing becomes painfully clear. In the chai, survival isn't just physical, it's emotional. Emmett is still standing, but how much longer before he's standing alone? Kiesha loves him, but love isn't a band-aid. And if he keeps choosing power over peace, he'll lose more than her. He'll lose himself. Kiesha, for all her strength, looks tired in a way that makeup can't cover and sleep can't fix. She's a woman trying to hold on to her joy while the world keeps taking pieces of it. That smile she gave her son near the end, that wasn't for anyone else. It was her last bit of fight, wrapped in warmth. And that's the kind of quiet resistance this show captures best. Jake, Papa, Bakari, they're all mirrors of different kinds of manhood. Some hardened, some healing, all hurting. And even though they're choosing different paths, each of them is asking the same silent question: who am I becoming? Because at its heart, this episode isn't just about what happened, it's about what's changing. Relationships, loyalties, identities. It's not the chaos we should fear, it's the quiet drift. One moment you're laughing in a backyard cookout. Next, you're strangers across the dinner table. This episode feels like that. There's no big twist, no gotcha moment, but that's the genius of the chai. It doesn't try to shock you. It makes you feel seen. Like when Papa breaks down in church, when Kiesha hides her pain behind chores, when Kevin tries to act like his voice isn't cracking during a FaceTime call. That's not just writing. That's truth. Lived truth. Black truth, human truth. And maybe that's why this episode hits different. Because it reminds us, we're all just trying to hold on to something. A dream, a person, a version of ourselves, before the city takes it away. So now it's your turn. What did you feel watching this episode? Did Emmett go too? Far to ever come back? Is Kiesha finally ready to walk away for good? And is Papa headed toward peace or collapse? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk. Let's feel this together. And if you want more deep breakdowns like this, where we don't just recap, we unpack. Make sure you're subscribed and locked in. This season's only getting heavier, and I'm not missing a single beat. See you in the next one.